I'm not sure why Taiwan is overlooked because there's just so much to see and do there. So I recently spent 1 month traveling around Taiwan, trying to explore as many cities as possible while trying as much food and different coffee shops as I could. It would be boring for me to just talk about it, so it'd be much better if I just showed you. So let me take you with me to Taiwan as I explore the country through my photography. I visited Kaohsiung, Tainan, Taichung, Taipei, Jiufen, Keelung, as well as other various smaller satellite towns and cities along the way. One thing I did forget to mention though is that when people think of hot springs, they often think of Japan. However, Taiwan has a lot of those too, and much more affordable in my opinion. So if you stick by to the end, I'll throw in my recommendation to one of them, and I think anyone who goes to Taiwan should definitely visit one of these. But the underlying message is that Taiwan is just very underrated, especially for photographers and filmmakers. First of all, you might be wondering, how difficult is it to travel around Taiwan? Well, lucky for you, Taiwan makes it super easy to get around either by bus or train. And English is not really a problem because there's English everywhere. The first time I went to Taiwan was actually in 2011. And let me tell you, it was much more difficult to travel back then. Not to mention that people in Taiwan are just really friendly. Freakishly friendly in a way. Affordability was also a big thing for me. I previously thought that Japan was one of the most affordable places because of the strong dollar. And actually, Taiwan is probably on par or even more affordable than Japan. Now, if you happen to go to the touristy spots, there's what I like to call the tourist tax. Things are much more marked up. However, if you just walk maybe a block or two away from these touristy spots, you can find much more affordable food. An example of this is Jiufen, and as much as I do love Jiufen, it was actually probably my least favorite of all the places that I went to. The experience itself was great, but there's just way too many tourists and the food has become somewhat gentrified or commercialized. However, if you're a photographer like me and you only care about the experience, the footage, the photos, then Jiufen is hard to beat. Now, one of the great things that I do love about Taiwan is how safe it is. Now, this is a characteristic I run into a lot here in Asia. For example, Korea or Japan. It's just so safe to get around, even for a woman. So it'd be at least 2, 3, 4 a.m. and I'd be out there walking around taking photos and I wouldn't feel any fear and I was never in any immediate danger or any danger for that matter. It also helps that there are so many CCTV cameras everywhere. Now, that might be a little bit dystopian, and I know my Western friends probably are not very comfortable with it, but you cannot deny the fact that it plays a good role in the safety that you feel in these cities. Now, from all the cities that I visited, I must say that Kaohsiung was probably my favorite one, for a variety of reasons. It wasn't just the safety or the fact that it has a real good metro system. There's just so much variety in that city. Now, if you don't know, Kaohsiung is a city in the south, and it's worth going to, might add. The food just tasted different, stronger, but everything was way cheaper in comparison to Taipei. And that's because Taipei is already kind of cheap enough, in my opinion. It just felt much more raw, and I was able to enjoy a good meal every day for a real nice price. I don't like spending much when I travel. I like to just focus on taking my photos and having some nice home-cooked style meals, and Kaohsiung did not disappoint because I had plenty of that. I also make it a habit of tasting many different coffee shops, and I must say, Taiwan as a country has really good coffee. And I will be making some videos later about some various coffee shops that I recommend, but I don't think it will fit into this video. Now, I must say that the areas that I didn't enjoy, and this is the same for pretty much every city that I went to, was anything that was recommended on TripAdvisor or any blog for that matter. I know many people like to take tour packages or they like to visit the safety of the touristy areas because they've been tried and true. But to be honest, most of those places are just overrated, oversaturated with people, especially as I mentioned Jiufen. it is no fun when there's so many crowds of people that you can't even get by, and then the only food you can get is marked up so high. In Taipei, for example, you often hear that, oh, if you visit Taipei, you should visit the 101 Tower and how great it is. And you know what? It's not great and it's awful. And when you get to a top, the only thing you're going to see is a very generic skyline view of the city, but you do not know that you're looking at Taiwan. Instead, you should visit Zhongshan Mountain right next to it for free, hike for about 10 or 20 minutes, and then you get a free view of the city with the Taipei Tower 101 in the middle, and you save yourself a good 60 bucks. I already knew this, but there were some areas that I just had to go to because I thought, oh, I should just get a photo of this place while I'm there. And they oftentimes took so much of my time and energy and money that it would have been much better if I had just gone to another area unknown, and I would have saved so much time, energy, money, and probably walked away with much better memories than being stuck in line. And let me tell you, Taiwan has lots of lines. This is one more thing. If you're going to Taiwan and you're relying on Google Maps or any other food blogger for that matter, food bloggers are the worst, by the way. If you follow the recommendations, you're going to be waiting in those lines for a long time. It didn't matter how early I went or how early I thought I was, there was always a line for these places, especially the Michelin star places. So I very quickly gave up the idea of trying those foods and then tried, like for example, a 4.9 rated restaurant, which were usually empty compared to like the 5-star rated restaurants. But yes, when you factor all these things, the cheap cost, the ease of travel, the safety, the amazing photographs that you can just get anywhere in Taiwan, it felt like I could just walk down any alley or any street and you capture like this very amazing photograph or even clip for a video. I wonder, why don't more people go to Taiwan? And I spent some time pondering on this, and the answer is because most people usually go to Japan. But here's the thing, Taiwan was colonized by Japan in the past. And as a result, when I was traveling in Taiwan, I felt like I was in Japan at times. Like it was a Japan light, but much cheaper. The food had much more flavor. Smaller country with overtones of China. Here's my plea to you, especially if you're a photographer. You should go to Taiwan. You should save a lot of money. You should be able to travel to all these various different cities, try amazing food, and take so many photos. Then I want you to come to this video, write me a comment and tell me, thank you for recommending Taiwan. It was the best trip I ever had. Now, I did promise I was going to recommend my preferred onsen location. There's this place called Kyoto Spring Hotel in the Beito area, and you're able to get your own private hot spring or onsen, and yeah, that's my place to go. I hope you got something useful out of this video and not just like generic information. But in the future, I will be making various more specific videos on each of the different locations and places that I photographed in Taiwan. And I think you'll be very happy to watch those.